My name is Cecelia Condit, and I have the short video, I've Been Afraid.
And what is your film about?
It's about fear, all these fears that I have as a woman or as a person, and fears about being hurt, fears about, foxes, and afraid of being myself, and, just afraid of all the things in life that I can throw into one song. So it's a musical, and it's charming. And the music is done by Isaac Sherman, and he now lives in California. So I wrote the lyrics, or started working with him, and then he started right away. I told him I wanted a song between Dolly Parton and Billie Eilish. And so he came up with this little song. I went, okay, we can go with that. And then I kept changing the lyrics and moving them around, and he would build things into where they needed to fit for the piece and for the visuals.
So the song was conceived before you did the visuals then?
I had a lot of visuals done. I had been working with women who had been abused, and I found the subject really heavy. And I felt like I could not handle one other person. I couldn't show the abuse, and I couldn't handle hearing about the abuse. But I thought about it as there's been so many in films, there's so many women that have been, there's a romanticization of a dead, beautiful woman in film that is like a horror. So I couldn't get myself to go through any of that language of like trying to survive or romanticizing of the violence towards women. So I thought what I would do is I started playing on Instagram with emojis that were there and looking in free emojis here and there. And I started putting little things together that just seemed eerie and almost superficial, playing with superficial images that I could put words on that were scary, so that they would be almost as though they were part of popular culture, and that the violence against people is just part of popular culture, and that even though there's little foxes that are dancing around or owls hooting or the like, that they are still the popular culture is just packed with absolute silliness and actual absolute horror. So I try to mesh those two things together.
Yeah, the fantasization of dead women is, I mean, when you think about it, it's happened way before even films too. It's happened almost at the start of what pop culture was back then too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This film, I mean, you have similar themes to the other film you had at our festival, We Were Hardly More Than Children. Are these themes that you explore more so than other themes?
I explore violence against women often. Mm-hmm. Often. So Hardly More Than Children was an illegal abortion that a friend of mine had in, I think it was 1969, when we were just children, hardly more than children. And it was a night where she could have been killed 4 different times from, by different people, friends included, not just doctors. And it was hospitals. It was a terrible experience. And I went through it with her, so that left a big impression on me. And then also culture in general and the world, it's not an easy world to negotiate. I mean, especially if it's complicated. And so that was an easy thing to talk. But I wouldn't have made that film if I didn't think that the world didn't have problems with letting women have abortions or making it so that they could choose their future. Now, there's nothing like being 17 and having a baby. Mm-hmm. When you know that with no backup support, isn't like you could go home. It isn't like you're raised in money. You're cornered. And so you would have your life pretty much defined, and it would look a lot like poverty.
Yeah, it's the thing that struck me about your film is it's so vastly different than the last one we had at the festival visually. even though you're exploring the same themes, it took me by surprise a little bit. It's like you open up on that emoji face. I've assumed that's similar to your representation. You picked an emoji that best represented you.
Yeah.
Are you moving more towards animated?
No, now I'm working, I'm finishing a film right now. I mean, I will be done by the end of the summer. Seems like recently I've been doing a piece a year, and I just think it's it's a hard order to keep going. But this one is on a connection between me. I'm trying to figure out the human connection to the natural world and the human connection to artificial intelligence. And so I have them all squeezed into this one little thing, trying to figure out what is the humanity and what's the future of it, and where are we in terms of our roots, and the frighteningness of the global footprint of artificial intelligence too. It uses a tremendous amount of energy, and it cannot take 130-degree weather either.
Yeah, you in your director's statement, you mentioned you're exploring the dark side of female subjectivity, and you view these as feminist fairy tales too. Could you elaborate more on the idea of what calling them feminist fairy tales?
That was a line that was written about my work generally, and I kind of like it. I mean, it was one of those inspirations that I became a filmmaker, was because of fairy tales, and because I could identify with them, and I could say almost anything I wanted to say and get away with it, because fairy tales are about the weirdest, most gruesome things in the world, and I could say things that have a charm to them, but they also are serious. And so they struck me as a means of operation that I could commit myself to, as music has been in some ways. It's not in every piece, but it is in some pieces. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fairy tales. I think that I've been, when I talk I've been afraid. I've been afraid of being me. I've been afraid of what you think of me. I've been afraid of who you might see. I mean, I can't even remember the lines. Afraid of who I might be if I was really me. And that's a line that I think I carry with me in other works too. It's like a repetitive theme of like afraid of being me. Gosh, what if I wasn't me? So in this one film I did in 2004, I have this rat, this doppelganger, where this little girl's playing, and it looks like the dead rat who she dresses in a dress and ties from a string and has conversations. And it's almost as though the dead rat has more fun than she does. So I have, but there's like this sense of twinness that's also in, which I have a twin. There's also in I've been afraid that I play with, and also this sense of otherness, of who I might be if I was really me, as though I was never really able to be me, or as a woman, I try to be me. But, one of the ways that women can get abused pretty quickly is that they fall into step when they try to please so badly that they slowly become farther and farther away from themselves until they just don't even know who they are.
Yeah. Are you still teaching?
No, I stopped. So it's been 3 years now. I've stopped teaching. So I still see people from the university, and I still believe in the university. I committed a big chunk of my life to the film department there, UWM. But 30 some years.
Do you have any parting words that you want to say to people watching this to go see your film?
Oh, I think it's deals with subjects that are real, and also it's my latest finished piece, and I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, I think they'll like it too.